Well, Nikki Haley is now an announced candidate. She's the second one. And you talk about a slimy hypocrite. Nikki Haley. Oh, my God. And did you hear who was at her rally and I guess who had a prayer? This disgusting, hideous Pastor Haley? Haley? Ah! I mean, Hagee, what? Now, come on, what's his name? Oh, damn it. Not Hagee. That's right. Haley, Hagee, and it's Nikki Haley, but this is that Hagee. I mean, if ever there was a rotund demon who was belched up out of hell by Satan, it would be Pastor Haley. Hagee. Come on, Mike, I'll get it right. Hagee. I mean, this is a guy who, you know, he claims to be a Christian minister. He's really a Christian Nazi. And he is, in one of his sermons, in many of his sermons, he advocates that if people are hungry, let them starve. If they won't go to work, let them starve. Is that what Jesus of Nazareth said, you disgusting lump of hatred? John Hagee. Well, he was right there with Nikki Haley on Wednesday. Huh? And here's what bothers me. Nikki Haley has been characterized by mainstream media as a more reasonable Republican than anybody else who might pop into this shit race of Christian demons that are going to try to get what used to be the Republican nomination is now the Christian fascist nomination for president. But if you listened to her campaign kickoff jive turkey nonsense, you have to come to the conclusion that she is definitely not an alternative to these, oh, poor me, I'm a white Christian and everybody picks on me types, right? They make me allow insurance coverage for birth control. They try to make me do a wedding cake for queers. They're trying to destroy Jesus H. Christ. You know who I'm talking about, right? In her speech when she announced her toy candidacy, because it's going to go nowhere, she talked about Ron DeSantis and these other slime, without mentioning by name, their war on wokeism. Wokeism. Do you know what wokeism is? Do you know what being woke? I'm so goddamn happy to be a woke person. That's somebody who wakes up, comes out of the ether, like this little son of a bitch who murdered 10 people in Buffalo, New York. If he would have been woke instead of seduced by racism 10 years ago, maybe these families would not have been in that courtroom yesterday. But to her, Nikki Haley, wokeism is kind of a catch-all phrase, slur really, against any effort to advance inclusion, racial equality. And when she announced, she went back in a way to, do you remember Trump's inauguration where he said that the destruction or the whatever he called it in America was going to stop here and it stops now. And then he engineered the biggest political crime spree in the history of this country. Well, Nikki Haley said that on Biden and Harris's watch, quote, a self-loathing has swept our country. It's in the classroom, the boardroom, and the back rooms of government. Does that sound like what we feel, what you feel, what I feel? Huh? Self-loathing? No. You know what I feel? I feel that we are in a situation where we could save ourselves. And right now, I'm not talking about climate change. I'm not talking about the toxic shit going into our environment or the threat of nuclear destruction. I'm talking about a rise in consciousness to get above butt level thinking and get up into our higher brains where we can look at things and say, you know, that's not right. Let's make it this. And then not have a big goddamn debate about it. Self-loathing? She said, quote, every day we're told America is flawed, rotten, and full of hate. Joe and Kamala even say America is racist. Oh, Nikki, really? Have they really said that? Well, maybe, you crazy woman, maybe you should examine that. What do you think, Nikki? Do you think we're racist? Are you so totally unconscious that you don't see it every time you open your eyes? Have you been protected? You're a woman of color. Oh, that's right. You were a governor and a UN ambassador. So obviously it doesn't affect you, does it? That America is racist. Well, the truth is, Nikki, this is probably the only honest thing that you will say during your toy campaign. America is racist. Now, we're not talking about the educational superstars or the black scientists or the black sports figures or the black entertainers or the black educators or the black novelists or the black poets. We're talking about just us common folk who live in racist America, Nikki. You're not aware of that, huh? Wow. Wow. And Biden, if you remember, he ended his State of the Union speech, which doesn't sound like what Haley's talking about, but he ended with this, quote, we are the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. That sounds pretty open-ended there, Nikki. Now, as Jennifer Rubin, writing at the New York Times, as she reported, Haley's appeal to the MAGA crowd was also evident in a campaign ad that she released the day before this little announcement. It begins with Nikki Haley describing her hometown in South Carolina. She says this, quote, the railroad tracks divided the town by race, end quote. The railroad did it? The railroad did it. Or was it the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws and the resistance to integration by white folk? No, it was the railroad. And as Jennifer points out, this is so typical among Christian fascists, although Jennifer calls them Republicans these days. But Nikki blurs over the real roots of American division to avoid reminding us poor whites of the original sin of slavery. Oh, let's not upset the white folk. Let's not upset them. Let's all stay out here on the veranda of the big house and sing and dance. So the white folk feel good while they drink their mint juleps. Let's not get into reality. By the way, where is Miss Scarlett? This kind of shit makes me sick. And her ad gets worse from there. As Jennifer points out, the ad intones that some say the country's founding principles are bad and racist and evil. And while that's playing, images of Ocasio-Cortez flash on the screen, and the black commentator Danielle Moody, when she, this is a hit on the New York Times 1619 Project. Of course, that completely, as is so typical of racist bastards like Nikki Haley, completely misconstrues the 1619 Project. It wasn't written by Danielle Moody. It was written by the journalist Nicole Hannah-Jones, and it explores this incredible struggle to perfect democracy that was corrupted, riven, beaten, kicked by the institution of slavery. If you want to do something risky, just stop somebody. Going into a grocery store, well, that might not be a good idea, huh? Stop somebody, not somebody you know, and just some white person. You know, just casually, just friendly. Hi, how are you? Hey, listen, do you know what the 1619 Project is? See what kind of an answer you get. And then later in this TV ad that this toy presidential candidate, Nikki Haley, put out, the ad claims that, quote, the socialist left see an opportunity to rewrite history, end quote. And while that's being said, the voiceover saying that, there are photos of Biden and Kamala Harris and Pelosi. And last time I checked, none of those people are socialists. Oh, my God. And those are not the people that are banning books and censoring teachers and blocking high school courses about African American history. I'll tell you what, Nikki, how would you feel, since your parents are immigrants from India, how would you feel if all the textbooks would ban anything about South Asian Indians? What if the school curricula were prevented from talking about the Indian Revolution against the British overlords to end colonialism? What about this? Supposing the school, of course, Nikki would probably celebrate the fact that if it came to pass that Bopa Mahatma Gandhi was ripped away from the history books of India. I mean, Gandhi was about as socialist as Jesus Christ was. I don't think Nikki would like that, would you, Nikki? And in response to that filthy ad run by Nikki Haley, Miss Hannah Jones, who came up with the idea of the 1619 Project for the New York Times, she tweeted in response to Nikki Haley's ad, quote, to deploy the 1619 Project and black protest movements as progenitors of anti-American hatred, when in fact what they both show is no group has fought for the ideas of equality and freedom more than black Americans, is just highly offensive, end quote. Well, Miss Hannah Jones, yeah, I understand you have to put it that way, but it's beyond offensive, isn't it? Isn't it beyond highly offensive? You know, I've talked about this so many times, where there will be a press briefing and black folk will be standing at the microphone, a mom and a dad, or a dad and a stepmom, or a mom and a stepdad, or cousins or brothers, and they will be there because they are holding a press conference about the recent murder of one of their family members. And do they stand there and talk about off the pigs? Do they talk about let's burn down white society? Do they talk about I'm going to go kill a white person? No! They stand there in their grief and they talk about equality and justice and fair play and decency, all of which adds up to freedom. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.